Hey everyone, and welcome to the Deep Dive. If you're looking to really expand your English vocabulary and maybe get some interesting insights, you've definitely come to the right place.
Absolutely. We're here to help you get a deeper understanding.
And before we really get started, we'd love it if you could hit that subscribe button for the YouTube channel. It helps us out a lot and means you won't miss our future deep dives.
Definitely. We've got a lot more planned. So today, what are we diving into?
Today, we're looking at a transcript from a YouTube video. It's from Learn English with EnglishClass101.com, and the video is called Learn English Words, Intermediate 125.
Okay, Intermediate 125. So it sounds like it covers a pretty good range of stuff.
It really does. It's not just, a simple word list. It's got all sorts of individual words, sure, but also phrases, idioms. Some are quite academic. Others are like really colloquial, everyday English.
A real mix then. That's useful.
Exactly. And our mission, if you will, for this deep dive is to sort of unpack all these linguistic bits and pieces. We don't just want to give you the definition.
Right. Context is key.
Totally. We want to look at the nuances, figure out when you'd actually use these words or phrases, maybe give some memorable examples so they, stick in your head.
And hopefully make it engaging, not just like reading a dictionary. Avoid that feeling of information overload.
That's the plan. Make it interesting. Make it stick. So where should we start?
Well, the transcript kicks off with esoteric. The definition given is requiring specialized knowledge.
Esoteric. Yeah, it sounds a bit intellectual.
It can, definitely.
Yeah.
And the example they use is someone actually saying, sorry to be esoteric, in the middle of a conversation.
Oh, that's interesting. Like they're where they might be losing people.
Exactly. It's like a little flag, isn't it? A warning saying, okay, I'm about to say something that maybe not everyone here will get or that requires some specific background.
It's almost an apology for knowing something specific.
Or maybe a subtle way of showing off that knowledge. Could be read either way, perhaps.
Yeah, it depends on the tone, I suppose.
It really does. But it brings up that whole idea of, using language to signal belonging to a group or having certain expertise. It's a bit of a balancing act.
So when is it actually okay to use a word like esoteric? You wouldn't just drop it into a chat about the weather.
Definitely not. I think it's most appropriate when the subject matter is genuinely specialized. Like, if two physicists are discussing quantum mechanics, they might use esoteric terminology specific to their field.
Because they both share that specialized knowledge base.
Precisely.
Yeah.
But using it just to sound smart in everyday conversation,
Yeah.
that can backfire, right? It can come across as pretentious.
Yeah, it puts up a wall instead of helping communication. Makes you wonder about the person in the example. Were they genuinely being considerate or...
We'd need more context, wouldn't we? But it highlights how important context and intent are in language.
Absolutely. Okay, let's move on. The next one is superfluous, defined as extra, not necessary.
Superfluous, another slightly formal sounding word.
Yeah, and the example is, so much superfluous stuff in my kitchen. What do you think about using it like that, casually?
Well, the transcript itself notes it sounds a bit unnatural, and I agree. Superfluous isn't just extra. It implies the extra stuff is unnecessary, maybe even burdensome.
Right, it's not just, I have a lot of gadgets. It's more like, some of these gadgets are pointless and just taking up space. There's a judgment there.
Exactly. It carries a bit more weight than just saying too much or unnecessary. You'd probably see it more in writing, maybe a report talking about superfluous steps in a process or superfluous data.
So saying superfluous clothes just sounds a bit much.
A little bit, yeah. Like you're trying too hard, perhaps. Unless, like you mentioned before, you're being deliberately ironic or humorous.
Okay. So maybe jokingly, oh, this fifth coffee machine is entirely superfluous, but I couldn't resist.
Yeah, that could work because you're playing with the formality. But for just, straightforward chat, extra or unnecessary usually fits better.
Good point. It's about matching the word to the situation, the register.
Exactly. Okay, next.
Next up, acquiesce, meaning to accept something to go along with.
Acquiesce. And they give that great example from Pirates of the Caribbean. He will not acquiesce to your request. You can almost hear Captain Barbossa saying it.
You can, it really sticks. And it feels like it means more than just agreeing, doesn't it?
It does. There's often a sense of reluctance or maybe giving in under pressure or from a position of less power. It's not an enthusiastic yes.
It's like you're complying, but maybe not happily. Like you finally acquiesce to your kids' demands for ice cream just to get some peace.
That's a perfect example. There's a yielding involved. You might have resisted initially, but you eventually go along with it. It implies a dynamic where one party gives way to the other.
Okay, that makes sense. It's a more nuanced way of saying agree or comply.
Definitely.
All right, moving on to angst. The definition is a feeling of unhappiness, anger, melancholy, or being misunderstood.
Angst. And the classic example given is parents talking about their teenager. Oh, my teenager is so filled with angst.
It's almost become synonymous with being a teenager, hasn't it? Why do you think that is?
Well, adolescence is just such a time of upheaval, isn't it? Hormones, identity crises, feeling like nobody understands you. Angst just seems to perfectly capture that whole messy bundle of intense, often negative emotions.
It's like a shorthand for teenage emotional turmoil.
Pretty much. But of course, it's not only teenagers who feel it. Adults experience angst too, that sort of existential dread, frustration, feeling misunderstood.
Yeah, but maybe it's just more visible or more intensely felt during those teenage years when you're grappling with it all for the first time.
I think that's a big part of it. It's often the first time people encounter those deep feelings of unease or alienation so strongly.
Right. Okay, let's switch gears a bit. Kitsch.
Kitsch, I like this word. Defined as junk, decorative knickknacks, often in a style considered tasteless, but sometimes appreciated in an ironic or knowing way.
The example of the aunt's kitschy apartment full of knickknacks paints a picture, so it's basically tacky stuff.
Not just tacky, necessarily. The key is that sort of tension between bad taste and appreciation. It's often overly sentimental, maybe a bit gaudy, definitely not high art. Think fluffy dice in a car, maybe, or those ceramic cats with big eyes.
Okay, I get it. But the definition says sometimes appreciated, so it's not always just dismissed as bad.
Exactly. Sometimes it's appreciated precisely because it's considered tasteless by mainstream standards. There can be a sort of ironic enjoyment or a nostalgic fondness for its particular brand of uncoolness.
Like, it's so bad it's good, or at least interesting.
Like, kind of, yeah. Or it evokes a certain time period, a certain feeling. It's not always straightforwardly negative. There's often a layer of knowingness involved in appreciating kitsch.
Embracing the slightly odd or outdated.
Exactly. And sometimes kitsch cycles back into being fashionable in a retro way.
Fascinating. Okay, let's look at some common phrases now. First one. Thinking outside the box.
Ah, classic business buzz phrase, meaning thinking differently outside of normal conventions.
And the transcript says it's usually a compliment, which makes sense. It implies creativity, innovation.
Definitely. It's a call to break free from rigid thinking, to challenge assumptions and find new approaches. Essential for problem solving, really.
But it's easier said than done, isn't it? How do you actually make yourself think outside the box?
That's the tricky part. It often involves deliberately questioning the rules or constraints you think are there, looking at the problem from a completely different angle, maybe bringing in ideas from unrelated areas.
So it's about challenging your own assumptions, too. The box might be in your own head.
That's a huge part of it. Our own habits, biases, and routines can create that box. It also means being willing to try things that might fail. Thinking outside the box often involves experimentation.
Right, because you're venturing into unknown territory.
Exactly.
Okay, next phrase, the bottom line, meaning the most important thing, the end all.
The bottom line, yep, it cuts through everything else. The example, the bottom line is we have to make more sales next month, is very direct.
It gets right to the core issue, doesn't it? Like, forget all the excuses or complexities. This is what ultimately matters.
Precisely. It originally comes from accounting, where the bottom line on a statement shows the final profit or loss. But we use it much more broadly now to mean the essential point, the ultimate consequence or factor.
So when someone says the bottom line is, you know they're about to tell you the most critical piece of information.
Yes, it signals importance and finality. Let's cut to the chase. Here's the bottom line.
Got it. Next, hit the ground running, meaning to start well and energetically.
Love this one. The image is so clear, like an athlete sprinting right from the start line. No slow warm-up.
Yeah, it means getting started on something immediately and with full energy, being productive from moment one.
Exactly. It implies you're prepared, you know what you need to do, and you're launching into it without hesitation.
You often hear it about new jobs, right? Employers want new hires to hit the ground running.
Very common in that context. Also, at the start of new projects, or even just starting a busy week, let's hit the ground running on Monday morning.
Get that momentum going early.
That's the idea.
Okay, now for one that always makes me chuckle slightly. Giving 110%.
Ah, yes, the mathematically impossible phrase.
Exactly. The transcript clarifies it just means giving your all, making your best effort, going above and beyond.
It's pure hyperbole, isn't it? It's not meant literally. It's just a way to emphasize maximum effort plus a little bit extra for good measure. It sounds more impactful than just saying 100%.
So it's about the feeling, the commitment, not the numbers. Just pushing yourself as hard as you possibly can.
Precisely. Going above and beyond the expected limit, you're showing extreme dedication.
Right. Okay, next phrase. It is what it is.
Oh, this one is everywhere. The transcript notes it's often used to wrap up a conversation, maybe about a negative situation, implying resignation, and it can be a filler.
Yeah, I hear this constantly. It seems like it can mean a few different things depending on how you say it.
Absolutely. It can be a statement of pragmatic acceptance. Okay, this situation isn't ideal, I can't change it, so I accept it and move on. Like the flight's canceled, it is what it is, let's find a hotel.
Okay, accepting reality, but it can also sound dismissive. Or like you don't care.
It can, definitely. If someone brings up a serious problem and the response is just a quick, it is what it is, it can feel quite minimizing or apathetic, like you're brushing it off.
Or like you just don't want to talk about it anymore.
That too. It can be a conversation ender. So tone and context are crucial for this one. Is it philosophical acceptance or just a shrug?
Good distinction. Okay, let's shift to something more formal. Curriculum vitae or CV?
CV. The transcript says it's a record of your life and work history, and basically the same as a resume in American English.
Yeah, that's generally how I think of it. Is there any difference at all?
Well, that's where it gets a bit nuanced. While they're often used interchangeably in the U.S., especially in business contexts, in many other parts of the world, and particularly in academia, a CV is expected to be much more comprehensive than a typical American resume.
Oh, really? How so?
A traditional CV can be many pages long. It includes all your education, publications, presentations, research awards, professional affiliations, the works. It's a complete academic and professional history. A resume is usually shorter, maybe 1 or 2 pages, and tailored specifically to the job you're applying for, highlighting only the most relevant bits.
Oh, okay. So if you're like a scientist applying for a research position in Europe, you'd send the full, detailed CV, not a short resume.
Exactly. It's really important to know that distinction. If you're applying for jobs or academic posts internationally, always check what they're actually asking for.
Good tip. Okay, next term. Ad hominem.
Ad hominem. Latin meaning to the person. The definition is attacking the person making an argument, rather than the argument itself.
Right. This is a really important one to understand, especially if you get into debates or discussions online or anywhere else.
Absolutely. It's a logical fallacy. Instead of addressing the point someone is making, you attack their character, their motives, their appearance, whatever. It's irrelevant to whether their argument is valid or not.
It's basically a distraction technique, isn't it? Trying to discredit the speaker so you don't have to engage with their ideas.
Precisely.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, it can be effective at swaying people emotionally, even though it's logically unsound. Recognizing when someone is using an ad hominem attack is the first step to, well, not falling for it and trying to steer the conversation back to the actual issues.
Focus on the ball, not the player.
Good analogy, yes.
Okay, another Latin phrase, this one from theater. Deus ex machina.
Literally, God from the machinery. Fun one.
Yeah. The transcript explains it as a sudden, unexpected intervention that saves the day in a story, especially when things look hopeless, like a character suddenly developing superpowers just in time.
Or a long-lost rich uncle suddenly appearing with exactly the needed amount of money. It comes from ancient Greek plays, where sometimes an actor playing a god would be lowered onto the stage by a crane, the machina, to resolve a messy plot situation.
Wow, really? That's literal.
Yep. And in modern storytelling, it refers to any overly convenient, improbable, and usually unforeshadowed solution that pops up out of nowhere to fix everything.
And the transcript mentions it often feels cheap. Why is it considered bad writing?
Because it undermines the story's internal logic and the character's efforts. If the heroes solve the problem through their own wit, struggle, and growth, it feels earned and satisfying. If a random, convenient solution just appears, it feels like the writer cheated. It bypasses the struggle and the consequences.
Right, it makes the previous challenges seem less meaningful if the solution just drops from the sky.
Exactly. It can really take the audience out of the story. Good writing usually involves setting up solutions earlier, even subtly, so they feel organic when they happen.
Avoid the magic wand ending. Got it. Next. Magnum opus.
Magnum opus. Latin again for great work.
It usually means someone's masterpiece, right? Their most important or greatest achievement, often their life's work. The example given is Beethoven's Fifth Symphony.
That's a common example, yes. It signifies the pinnacle of an artist's, writer's, or composer's output, the work they were most famous for, the one considered their most significant contribution.
So it's not just any big project. It has to be recognized as particularly great or important.
Generally, yes. There's an element of critical acclaim or lasting significance implied. It's the work that really defines their legacy.
Can someone have more than one magnum opus?
It's debated. Usually the term implies one single preeminent work. But, for someone incredibly prolific and brilliant over a long career like Picasso or Shakespeare, maybe you could argue they produced several works that could contend for the title. But typically we think of one.
Okay. Sticking with Latin influences, alter ego.
Your other self.
Mm-hmm.
Literally other I.
The transcript gives examples like movie characters or superheroes. Clark Kent is Superman's alter ego. It's about having a second persona.
Exactly. A distinct personality or identity that someone adopts, separate from their usual self. And as the transcript notes, it's not always negative or about hiding something bad.
Right. So it could be like a performer's stage persona. Someone who's shy in real life might have a very confident, outgoing alter ego on stage.
That's a perfect example. It could be a way to access or express different parts of yourself, or to fulfill a specific role or function, like a superhero needing a secret identity to protect loved ones. It can be empowering.
Interesting. Okay, let's shift to something a bit lighter. Zany.
Zany, meaning amusingly unconventional, eccentric, a little bit weird, but in a fun way.
Yeah, the example of a friend buying a new Kids on the Block lunchbox as an adult is pretty zany. It's unexpected and quirky.
It captures that playful eccentricity, doesn't it? Zany suggests something endearingly odd, maybe slightly absurd, but definitely lighthearted. It usually has a positive feel.
Someone who doesn't take things too seriously has a unique sense of humor.
Exactly. A zany outfit, a zany idea. It implies fun and unpredictability.
Okay. Next is zillion.
Another fun exaggeration. The transcript clarifies it's not a real number, just a word for a very, very large, indefinite amount used for emphasis.
Like, I have a zillion things to do today.
Precisely. Or the example, a zillion ants in my backyard. It just means loads, tons, an overwhelming number. You wouldn't use it in any kind of precise calculation.
Just a casual way to say a huge amount.
Yep. Pure hyperbole for informal chat.
Got it. Next word. Zoom. This one has two common meanings.
It does. First, the camera function. To zoom in, get closer, or zoom out, get wider view, using a lens.
Right, changing the magnification.
And second, as onomatopoeia, the sound word meaning to move very quickly, the car zoomed past.
So context tells you everything. Are we talking cameras or speed?
Exactly. Let me zoom in on that text versus he zoomed through his homework. Very different meaning, same word.
Interesting how language evolves, and zest is similar, having two meanings.
It is. First, zest can mean great enthusiasm, energy, and enjoyment. Someone with a zest for life.
A real passion and excitement for things.
Yes. And the second meaning is the culinary one. The outer colored peel of citrus fruit, like lemon zest or orange zest, used for flavoring.
Ah, right. Adds that bright, fresh flavor to cooking.
It does. So, again, context is your guide.
Yeah.
She tackled the project with zest versus add the zest of one lemon.
Both imply a certain vibrancy, though. One figurative, one literal.
That's a great way to put it, actually.
Okay, next. Zoology.
The study of animals. Pretty straightforward.
Yeah, part of biology. If you're interested in animals, how they live, behave, evolve, zoology is the field.
Covers everything from insects to elephants. A huge and fascinating area of science.
Definitely. Now, moving to drinks. Lager.
A type of beer. The transcript mentions drinking lager at Oktoberfest.
Which makes sense, Oktoberfest being German. So for someone who doesn't know beers, what makes a lager a lager?
Okay, so very basically, beer is mainly divided into lagers and ales. The big difference is the yeast and the fermentation temperature. Lagers use bottom fermenting yeast and are fermented and conditioned at cooler temperatures for longer.
And what does that do to the taste?
It generally results in a cleaner, crisper, smoother taste, often less fruity than ales. Think of classic German or Czech Pilsners. Those are lagers.
Yeah.
Clean, refreshing.
Okay, cool. Good to know the basics. Next word, wanderlust.
Wanderlust, that strong desire to travel and explore the world.
It's a great word, and the connection to seeing travel photos online and feeling that urge, very relatable today.
Absolutely. Social media is full of incredible travel imagery, and it can definitely ignite that feeling of wanting to see new places, experience different cultures. It's that itch to roam.
A yearning for adventure.
Exactly. It seems like a pretty universal human feeling, that curiosity about what's over the horizon.
Totally. Okay, next. Zeppelin.
A large airship, like a blimp, but usually rigid.
The transcript mentions Indiana Jones and the band Led Zeppelin, both good cultural touchstones. What's the deal with Zeppelins historically?
They were a big deal in the early 20th century. Named after Count von Zeppelin, a German inventor, these were huge, rigid airships, think metal framework inside, used for long-distance passenger travel, even crossing the Atlantic, and also militarily, especially in World War I.
Wow, passenger travel.
Oh, yeah. They were quite luxurious inside, like flying hotels.
Yeah.
But they were filled with hydrogen, which is highly flammable, leading to some spectacular disasters, most famously the Hindenburg in 1937. That, plus the rise of airplanes, basically ended the era of the passenger Zeppelin.
So Led Zeppelin's name evokes that era of like powerful, maybe slightly dangerous, majestic flight.
I think that's part of the imagery, yeah. Grandeur and maybe a bit of risk.
Cool. Okay, next. Dachshund.
The dog breed, commonly called a wiener dog in the U.S. because of their shape.
That long body, short legs look, they're quite distinctive. What were they originally bred for?
They were bred in Germany hundreds of years ago, specifically to hunt badgers.
Badgers? Really?
Yep. Their shape allowed them to dig into badger burrows. They needed to be brave, persistent, and small enough to get in there. That's why they had that tenacious, sometimes stubborn personality.
Fascinating. Little badger hunters.
Little determined badger hunters.
All right. Next is a word borrowed from German. Gesundheit.
Usually said after someone sneezes, like, bless you.
Right. What does it actually mean?
It literally means health in German. So when you say Gesundheit, you're wishing the person good health.
Why do we do that after a sneeze?
The tradition goes way back. Old beliefs were that a sneeze could expel your soul or let evil spirits in, or it was a sign of impending illness, like the plague. So saying Gesundheit or bless you was a way to protect the person or wish them well against those dangers.
Wow. So it's a very old custom of goodwill.
Exactly. Just a polite reflex now, mostly, but with interesting origins.
Okay, now we get into some tricky words. Homographs. Spelled the same, but different meanings and pronunciations. First is B-A-S-S.
Right. This can be three things. First, the fish, pronounced bass to rhyme with pass.
Like catching a largemouth bass.
Exactly. Second, a low-pitched voice or musical range, pronounced bass to rhyme with face. Like a singer who sings bass, or the bass setting on your stereo.
Okay, bass.
And third, the musical instrument, also pronounced bass, like face. A bass guitar or a double bass in an orchestra.
So the fish is bass, the sound and instrument are bass face. You really have to rely on context and pronunciation.
Absolute crucial. You don't want to talk about the bass face you caught fishing.
No. Okay, next homograph. W-I-N-D.
Two main ones here. First, the moving air, pronounced wind to rhyme with sind. A windy day.
Got it. Wind, sin.
Second, the verb meaning to wrap something around or to turn a key or handle, pronounced win to rhyme with find. Like winding a watch or winding yarn.
Wind, fine. Okay, so the wind sinned began to blow as I started to wind the kite string.
Perfect example.
Yeah.
Pronunciation is the only clue there.
Language is fun. Next pair. T-E-A-R.
Okay. First, a rip in paper or fabric, pronounced tear to rhyme with pear. There's a tear in my shirt.
Tear, pear, like tearing paper.
Second, the drop of water from your eye when crying, pronounced tear to rhyme with near. A single tear rolled down her cheek.
Tear, near. Okay, these sound quite different.
They do, but spelled the same. You could theoretically get a tear, pear, in your eye, but that sounds painful and unlikely.
Yeah.
Usually it's a tear, pear in clothing, or a tear near from emotion.
Right, let's not confuse those. Next, D-O-V-E.
Two meanings again. First, the bird, a symbol of peace, pronounced dove to rhyme with love.
Dove, love, like a white dove.
Second, the past tense of the verb dive, pronounced dove to rhyme with drove. He dove into the water.
Dove, drove. Okay, so a dove, love, flew overhead as she drove off the cliff.
Exactly. Again, spelling's the same. Sounds are different. You need the context.
Okay, last homograph example, C-L-O-S-E.
This one's tricky because the pronunciation difference is subtle for some meanings. First, it can mean near in space or time, pronounced close with an S sound, rhymes with dose or gross. We live close to the school. The deadline is close.
Close. Dose, meaning nearby.
Second, it's the verb meaning to shut or end something, pronounced close, but often with more of a Z sound at the end, rhymes with toes or nose. Please close the door. Let's close the meeting.
Close to es, meaning shut or finish.
Right, so the adjective adverb near has the es sound, while the verb shut often has a Z sound. It's subtle but usually distinct. We're close enough to close Z, the shop, now.
That's a good example sentence. Okay, that clarifies the homographs. Now, on to some words with tricky pronunciations. First, hyperbole.
Hyperbole, meaning exaggeration for effect. The key is the pronunciation. Hyperbole. Stress on the second syllable, and it ends with an E sound.
Not hyperbole.
Definitely not hyperbole. Hyperbole, like saying, I'm so hungry I can eat a horse. That's hyperbole.
Got it. Hyperale. Next. Antarctic.
Antarctic, the continent at the South Pole. The common mistake is dropping the first C sound. It should be Antarctic. You need to hear that K sound after the first T.
Antarctic, not Antarctic.
Exactly. Get that arc in there.
Okay. Next, the abbreviation ETC period.
Etc., which stands for etc. And that's how you should ideally pronounce it in full, especially when speaking more formally. At C-E-T.
Not just saying the letters ETC.
You can sometimes hear that informally, but the proper pronunciation is the full word etc., meaning and other things or and, etc.
On, etc. Good to remember. Next. Jewelry.
Jewelry. The common mispronunciation is to rush it, like jewelry. But it really has 3 syllables. Jewelry.
Jewelry. Give that middle syllable its space.
Exactly. Rings, necklaces, bracelets, all jewelry.
Okay. And prescription.
Prescription. The stress is on the second syllable. Prescription, not prescription.
Prescription, what the doctor gives you for medicine.
Correct. Focus on that script part.
Got it. Now a science word. Photosynthesis.
Photosynthesis. Photosyn the thyrsus. Stress on sin.
The process plants use to make food from sunlight, water, and carbon dioxide, releasing oxygen. Basic biology.
Absolutely fundamental. It's how plants convert light energy into chemical energy, forming the base of most food chains on Earth. And, crucially, it produces the oxygen we breathe.
So, pretty important process then.
Understatement of the century. Without photosynthesis, life as we know it wouldn't exist.
Wow. Okay, good perspective. Let's move to some descriptive words. Imperturbable.
Imperturbable means not easily upset or excited. Calm and composed, even under pressure.
Someone who stays cool no matter what.
Exactly. They have a steady temperament. They don't get flustered easily. Think of a bomb disposal expert or a very calm leader in a crisis. Ideally, they'd be imperturbable.
A great quality to have in stressful situations.
Definitely.
Next, counterintuitive.
Counterintuitive, meaning the opposite of what you would expect or what seems logical at first glance. It goes against your intuition.
The example given of doors that you have to push when they look like you should pull is perfect. That happens all the time.
It's a classic example. Your instinct, your intuition, based on handles, is to pull. When it's push, it feels wrong. It's counterintuitive. It can apply to ideas or solutions too, something that seems wrong initially but turns out to be correct.
Makes you stop and think.
It does. Challenges your assumption.
Okay, next word. Presumptuously.
Presumptuously. Acting in a way that oversteps the bounds of what's permitted or appropriate. Taking liberties you shouldn't.
The example of a salesman just walking into someone's house and sitting down uninvited?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty presumptuous.
Very. It implies acting with excessive forwardness or boldness without the right to do so. Ignoring social norms or proper procedure. It often suggests arrogance or a lack of awareness.
Acting like you own the place when you definitely don't.
That sums it up well.
Okay, now for a real mouthful. Sphygmomanometer.
Sphygmomanometer, the technical term for a blood pressure cuff.
Yeah, definitely not one you use every day unless you're a doctor or nurse. How do you even pronounce that?
Let's break it down. Sphygmomanometer. Sphygmomanometer.
Sphygmomanometer. Okay. Good to know it exists, even if we'll probably just keep saying blood pressure cuff.
Absolutely. It's medical jargon, really. Comes from Greek words related to pulse and pressure measurement.
Fascinating.
Bah.
Next is a word for a body part most people don't know the name of. Philtrum.
The philtrum, that little vertical groove between the base of your nose and your upper lip.
Yeah, the transcript jokes about getting it pierced. I had no idea it had a specific name.
Most people don't. It's formed during fetal development, but it doesn't seem to have a major function in adults. It's one of the interesting little anatomical details.
It's proof that almost everything has a name.
Pretty much.
Okay, another body part. Larynx.
The larynx, or the voice box, located in your neck, it contains the vocal cords.
Crucial for speaking and singing, as the transcript notes.
Absolutely. The vibrations of the vocal cords in the larynx produce sound, which is then shaped into speech by your mouth, tongue, and lips. Singers and public speakers need to take good care of their larynx.
The instrument of the voice.
Exactly.
Next.
Navel, more commonly known as the belly button.
Right. The transcript mentions piercing or surgery affecting its shape. It's basically a scar, isn't it?
It is. It's the scar left after the umbilical cord, which connected you to your mother in the womb, is cut after birth. A permanent reminder of our beginnings.
Everyone's got one, but they all look a bit different.
True.
Okay, next. Pinky.
The informal name for your smallest finger or toe.
The transcript includes a personal story about breaking a pinky finger. We've all probably stubbed our pinky toe on furniture.
Oh yes, despite being the smallest, they seem to find trouble easily. Pinky promise is also a common phrase related to the finger.
True. That little finger holds surprising cultural weight.
It does.
And the last anatomical term here, scapula.
The scapula, or shoulder blade. That large, flat, triangular bone in your upper back.
The transcript mentions its relevance for physical therapists and athletes. Why is it important?
It's a key part of the shoulder girdle, connecting your upper arm bone to your collarbone. It moves in complex ways to allow for the huge range of motion in your shoulder and arm. Proper scapular movement and stability are essential for overhead activities, throwing, swimming, pretty much any upper body sport.
Yeah.
And problems with the scapula are often involved in shoulder injuries.
So really crucial for movement and injury prevention in the upper body.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
PTs spend a lot of time looking at scapular function.
Interesting. Okay, let's switch gears now to ideologies and beliefs, ending in hierarchism. First, anarchism.
Anarchism. The belief that society should operate without a government or hierarchical authority.
It often gets equated with chaos, but that's not necessarily accurate, is it?
No, that's a common misconception. Anarchist philosophies actually cover a wide range, but they generally envision societies based on voluntary cooperation, mutual aid, and self-governance, rather than state control. The focus is on freedom from rulers. How that would work in practice is, of course, complex and debated.
So it's more about opposing imposed authority than promoting disorder.
Generally speaking, yes, it's a complex political philosophy.
Okay, next. Altruism.
Altruism, selflessness, basically. Acting out of concern for the well-being of others, without expecting personal gain.
Doing good deeds just because they're good, not for reward or recognition.
That's the ideal, yes.
Yeah.
It's a concept explored in ethics, psychology, even biology. Why do humans sometimes act in ways that benefit others at a cost to themselves? It's fundamental to cooperation.
A very positive human trait.
Widely considered so, yes.
Next, feminism.
Feminism, advocating for women's rights and, more broadly, for gender equality.
It's important to remember it's not a single monolithic thing, right? There are many different strands of feminist thought.
Absolutely. It's a diverse range of social movements, political movements, and ideologies united by the goal of defining, establishing, and achieving political, economic, personal, and social equality between the sexes. It addresses issues like reproductive rights, workplace equality, gender-based violence, and much more.
Aiming for a level playing field for everyone, regardless of gender.
That's a core principle, yes.
Okay. Next, pacifism.
Pacifism. The belief that war and violence are unjustifiable and that disputes should be settled peacefully.
A principled opposition to all violence.
Yes. Pacifists advocate for nonviolent means like negotiation, diplomacy, civil disobedience. It's a strong ethical stance, often rooted in religious or moral convictions. Think of figures like Gandhi or Martin Luther King Jr., who employed nonviolent resistance.
A commitment to peace, even in the face of conflict.
Exactly.
And the last piece of me here, sensationalism.
Sensationalism. This usually refers to media coverage presenting stories in a way designed to provoke public interest or excitement, often by exaggerating details, focusing on the shocking or scandalous, sometimes at the expense of accuracy.
Like tabloid headlines screaming about scandals using lurid details.
That's a classic example. The goal is to grab attention and boost readership or viewership, rather than necessarily providing balanced, factual reporting. It appeals to emotion over reason.
Something to be aware of as a media consumer. Gotta be critical.
Absolutely. Important to distinguish between informative news and sensationalism.
Okay. Now for some idioms featuring the color red. First, paint the town red.
An old-fashioned but fun one. It means to go out and have a really wild celebratory time. Hit the bars, party hard, celebrate enthusiastically.
Like a big night out on the town.
Exactly. Full of energy and revelry. The origin is a bit unclear, but the image is vivid.
Definitely sounds like fun. Next, to be in the red.
This one's financial. It means to be in debt, to owe money, or for a business to be operating at a loss.
What?
Traditionally, accountants use red ink to denote losses or debts on financial statements, as opposed to black ink for profits. So, in the red means you're in the negative territory.
The opposite of in the black. Makes sense.
Yep.
Okay, a red flag.
A warning sign. Something that indicates a potential problem, danger, or reason for concern.
The transcript mentions red flags in relationships, like someone being overly controlling. But it can apply anywhere.
Absolutely. A red flag in a business deal, a red flag about someone's health, red flag in a scientific study. It's just a signal that says, hey, pay attention. Something might be wrong here.
Don't ignore the warning signs.
Exactly.
Next, to catch someone red-handed.
To catch someone in the very act of doing something wrong. Like,
What?
you walk in just as they're stealing the cookies from the cookie jar.
The evidence is undeniable because you saw them doing it. The example of catching a student stealing the class pet is pretty clear.
It is. The red-handed part likely refers to being caught with blood on your hands after a crime, metaphorically speaking. It means being caught in the midst of the wrongdoing, with no doubt about their guilt.
Caught in the act. Got it. And red carpet treatment.
Treating someone like a VIP, giving them special, luxurious service and attention.
Like rolling out the actual red carpet for celebrities at movie premieres.
Exactly, that's the origin. So, getting the red carpet treatment means being treated with exceptional honor and hospitality, as if you were royalty or a major star.
Making someone feel very important and pampered.
That's the idea.
Okay, now let's talk relationships with some idioms. First, to be head over heels for someone.
Ah, that feeling of intense infatuation or love, especially early on, being completely smitten.
The phrase itself suggests being totally turned upside down, completely swept away by your feelings.
It does. It captures that dizzying, all-consuming feeling of falling deeply in love, often quite suddenly.
That honeymoon phase feeling.
Very much so.
But things don't always stay rosy. Next idiom, to be on the rocks.
This means a relationship is experiencing serious difficulties and is in danger of failing.
Like a ship hitting rocks and being close to sinking.
That's the metaphor, yes. It implies trouble, instability, major problems that threaten the relationship's survival. The transcript uses it in a little story, which helps illustrate.
Definitely a sign of trouble.
A big red flag, you might say.
Ah, indeed. Okay, then, to be an item.
This just means two people are officially dating, they are a couple.
So the fictional story continues. Maybe the couple from the party are now an item. It's more established than just casual dating.
Exactly. It implies they're recognized by others as being in a relationship together.
Okay. And if things go well, someone might pop the question.
Which means to propose marriage. To ask someone to marry you.
Another key moment in the relationship story, pop makes it sound a bit sudden or exciting.
It does. It adds that element of anticipation to the marriage proposal.
And if the answer is yes, eventually they might tie the knot.
Which means to get married. To formally become husband and wife or spouses.
The final step in the story, the wedding itself. Tie the knot is a nice symbolic phrase for making that commitment.
It is. It refers to older traditions, possibly hand fasting, where a couple's hands were literally tied together as part of the ceremony.
Oh, interesting. Okay, that wraps up the relationship idioms. Now on to phobias, intense fears. First, acrophobia.
Acrophobia. The fear of heights.
This is quite common, isn't it? Feeling dizzy or panicked when high up.
It is. It can range from mild discomfort on a balcony to severe panic that prevents someone from going above the ground floor of a building or crossing bridges. It can be quite limiting.
Definitely. Next, arachnophobia.
Arachnophobia. Fear of spiders, another very common one.
Yeah, lots of people really dislike spiders or are actively terrified of them.
Exactly. Even seeing a picture of a spider can trigger anxiety in someone with arachnophobia.
I can understand that. Okay, claustrophobia.
Claustrophobia. The fear of small, confined, or enclosed spaces.
Like elevators, crowded rooms, tunnels, MRI machines.
Yes. Situations where escape feels difficult or restricted. It can trigger feelings of panic, shortness of breath, a desperate need to get out.
Sounds awful. Next, agoraphobia.
Agoraphobia. This one is often misunderstood as just a fear of open spaces, but it's more complex.
Oh, how so?
It's typically a fear of situations where escape might be difficult or help wouldn't be available if something went wrong, like having a panic attack. So it can include fear of crowds, public transport, being outside the home alone, as well as open spaces. The core fear is often about losing control or panicking at a place where it would be embarrassing or hard to get help.
Oh, okay. So it can lead to people avoiding leaving their homes in severe cases.
Exactly. It can be very debilitating.
And the last phobia listed, ophidiophobia.
Ophidiophobia, the fear of snakes.
Another pretty common one. The transcript mentions a personal encounter, which makes sense. Snakes can be startling.
They certainly can evoke strong reactions. And for someone with ophidiophobia, the fear is intense and persistent, triggered even by images or just thinking about snakes. There might be an evolutionary basis for some caution around snakes, but a phobia is an excessive, irrational fear.
Right. Okay, moving away from phobias. Pretentious.
Pretentious. Trying to impress others by appearing more important, knowledgeable, or cultured than you really are. Putting on airs.
Like someone using overly complicated words just to sound smart or name-dropping constantly.
Exactly. It's about affectation. Trying to create a false impression of superiority. It often comes across as insincere and annoying.
Trying too hard.
Yep.
Next.
Ubiquitous.
Ubiquitous, meaning seeming to be everywhere at once, very common or widespread.
The example given is smartphones. That's perfect. They really are ubiquitous in many parts of the world now.
Absolutely. See them everywhere. People are constantly using them. Other examples might be things like certain chain restaurants or maybe specific fashion trends for a time. Something that's just unavoidable.
Omnipresent.
Good synonym, yes. Okay, albeit.
Albeit. It's a conjunction. Basically, a more formal way of saying although or even though.
So you use it to introduce a contrasting point, like he finally finished the report, albeit 2 days late.
Exactly. It acknowledges one thing, then introduces a qualification or concession. It was a successful trip, albeit tiring. It has a slightly more formal or literary tone.
Good for writing, maybe less common in casual chat.
Generally, yes.
Okay, ambiguous.
Ambiguous, meaning unclear, uncertain, or having more than one possible meaning. Open to interpretation.
Like an ambiguous statement that could be understood in two different ways, or an ambiguous ending to a movie.
Precisely. It lacks clarity or definiteness. Sometimes ambiguity is intentional in art or literature, but in everyday communication, it can lead to misunderstandings.
Usually you want clarity.
Usually.
And then a huge concept, love.
Love. Defined simply here as an intense feeling of deep affection. But wow, that's just scratching the surface.
Totally. It's such a complex emotion. Romantic love, family love, friendship, love for humanity, love for a passion.
It encompasses so many different feelings and relationships. Philosophers, poets, scientists have all tried to define and understand it for millennia. It's central to the human experience.
A small word with enormous weight.
Indeed.
Okay, let's move to some action idioms, many from sports. Jump the gun.
To start something too soon, before the proper time, or before you're ready. Like a runner starting before the starting gun fires in a race.
So acting prematurely, making a decision without all the information.
Exactly. Rushing into something without sufficient thought or preparation often leads to mistakes.
Like announcing a deal before it's actually signed. Jumping the gun.
Good example.
Next, drop the ball.
To make a mistake, fail to do something you were supposed to. Mess up. Especially through carelessness or negligence.
Like forgetting an important deadline or failing to complete your part of a team project. You had the responsibility and you fumbled it.
Exactly. Comes from sports. Literally dropping the ball and costing your team. It implies failing in your duty.
Not good. Okay, slam dunk.
Something that is certain to succeed or be achieved easily. A sure thing.
Like in basketball, a slam dunk is basically a guaranteed score.
Precisely. So if a project is described as a slam dunk, it means success is virtually guaranteed. It's an easy win.
Getting this contract should be a slam dunk.
Hopefully.
Okay, covering all bases.
Being thorough, considering and preparing for all possibilities or potential problems.
Another baseball term, right? Making sure every base is defended.
Exactly. So in planning, it means thinking about everything that could go wrong and having a contingency plan, being fully prepared.
Like having backup options for travel, just in case. Covering all bases.
Good example. Thorough preparation.
And playing hardball.
To be tough, aggressive, and uncompromising in negotiations or competition.
Not being nice or willing to compromise easily. Using tough tactics.
Exactly. Comes from baseball. Again, hardball is the actual game as opposed to softball. It implies taking a very serious, competitive, maybe even ruthless approach to get what you want.
Not for the faint of heart. Okay, shifting to the digital age now. Live tweet.
Posting updates and comments on Twitter, or X, now about an event as it's actually happening.
Like during a sports game, a TV show premiere, a conference presentation.
Exactly. People share their real-time reactions, commentary, photos. It creates a kind of shared, immediate experience online.
A way to follow along even if you're not there.
Or to add your voice to the conversation if you are.
Okay. Binge watch.
watching multiple episodes of a television series in rapid succession, one after the other.
Something made much easier by streaming services. Spending a whole weekend watching an entire season of a show.
Exactly. It's become a really common way to consume TV shows now. Instead of waiting a week for the next episode, you just hit play.
Can be addictive.
Tell me about it.
Okay, neckbeard.
Yeah. The transcript notes, this is a rude term for a beard that grows primarily on the neck, often patchy on the face, and it's associated with negative stereotypes.
Right. Often linked online to certain types of nerdy guys, maybe with poor hygiene or social skills. It's definitely derogatory.
Absolutely. It's used as an insult, mocking someone's appearance and implying other negative traits. Best avoided.
Agreed. Not a nice term. Next, fandom.
Fandom. The community of fans of a particular person, team, fictional series, genre, etc.
So like the Harry Potter fandom or the fandom for a specific musician or sports team, it's the collective group of passionate fans.
Exactly. And it implies more than just liking something. It often involves active participation, discussion, creating fan art or fiction, attending conventions. It's a subculture built around shared enthusiasm.
A sense of belonging for fans?
Yes.
Hyper-connected?
Constantly connected to the internet and digital communication technologies. Always online.
Which describes a lot of us these days, doesn't it? Smartphones, laptops, social media, always plugged in.
It really does. It implies constant access to information and communication, being reachable anytime, anywhere. It has huge implications for how we live, work, and interact.
Both good and bad, probably.
Definitely pros and cons.
Okay.
To draw absent-mindedly, making simple shapes or pictures without a specific plan, offered while you're doing something else, like listening on the phone or in a meeting.
Those little drawings in the margins of notebooks.
Exactly. Could be a way to keep your hands busy, or sometimes even helps concentration for some people. Or just boredom.
Random squiggles and shapes.
Yep.
Hodgepodge.
A confused mixture or jumble of different things, a random assortment.
Like a drawer filled with a hodgepodge of screws, buttons, and old keys. Or a stew made with a hodgepodge of leftover vegetables.
Perfect examples. It implies a lack of order or planning, just a mix of disparate items thrown together.
A miscellaneous collection. Shenanigans.
Playful mischief, pranks, or silly behavior, usually lighthearted and intended to be funny, not malicious.
Like kids getting up to shenanigans on the last day of school, or office workers planning some harmless shenanigans for a colleague's birthday.
Exactly. It implies fun, maybe slightly rule-bending activity, but all in good spirits. What shenanigans are you two planning?
Sounds like fun. Next. Skedaddle.
An informal and fun word meaning to leave quickly, to run off or hurry away.
Like, we'd better skedaddle before we get caught, or let's skedaddle, the movie starts soon.
Yep. It has a sense of playful urgency. Time to make a quick exit.
I like that word, skedaddle. Okay, persnickety.
Persnickety. Overly fussy about minor details, hard to please, fastidious.
Someone who is extremely particular about things having to be just so.
Exactly. They focus intensely on small details that others might not notice or care about. It can imply being overly critical or demanding. Sometimes used affectionately, but often suggests someone is a bit difficult.
A persnickety editor, perhaps. Or a persnickety eater.
Good examples. Someone requiring things to be precise and perfect according to their standards.
Okay. Now, for some idioms about intelligence or a lack thereof. The lights are on, but nobody's home.
A classic. It means someone appears physically present and awake, but they're not mentally alert, not understanding what's going on. They seem vacant or unintelligent at that moment.
Like they're staring blankly, not processing information.
Exactly. The outward appearance is there, lights on, but the mental faculty isn't nobody home.
Vivid image. Next. Space cadet.
Similar idea. Someone who seems out of touch with reality, often daydreaming, not paying attention, implies being ditzy or unaware, maybe not very bright.
Like their mind is off floating in space somewhere.
That's the image, yes. Not grounded in the here and now.
Okay. Even a stopped clock is right twice a day.
A proverb, meaning that even someone who is usually wrong or unreliable can occasionally be correct just by chance.
So just because someone is often mistaken doesn't mean they're never right. Sometimes luck aligns.
Exactly. A broken clock shows the correct time twice every 24 hours. It's a reminder that correctness can sometimes happen randomly, even for flawed sources.
A bit humbling, perhaps.
Can be.
Okay. And then a few more ways to say someone isn't very smart. Not the brightest bulb in the box.
Or variations like not the sharpest tool in the shed, not the sharpest crayon in the box, all informal ways of saying someone lacks intelligence.
Definitely insults, even if sometimes said humorously.
Yes, they're not compliments.
And another one, a few peas short of a casserole.
A more folksy, humorous variation on the same theme, implying someone is missing some essential mental ingredients.
Again, meaning not very intelligent, a bit off.
Right. There are many creative and often unkind idioms for this concept.
It seems so. Okay, shifting to some cultural items. Vinyl.
Referring to vinyl records, the discs used for playing music before cassettes and CDs took over, made from polyvinyl chloride plastic.
Right, they've made a huge comeback, haven't they?
They really have. Many people prefer the sound quality, the large artwork, the physical experience of putting on a record. It's become very popular again, especially among music enthusiasts.
A retro trend that seems to be sticking around.
Looks like it.
Okay, skinny jeans.
A style of jeans that are tight-fitting all the way down the leg, especially tapered at the ankle.
They were hugely popular for a long time, maybe still are to some extent. A defining fashion item of the 2000s and 2010s.
Absolutely. A very recognizable silhouette. Fashion trends change, but skinny jeans had a very long run as the dominant style.
Indeed. Next, Instagram.
The photo and video sharing social media app. Hugely popular globally.
Focused on visual content, pictures, short videos, reels, stories.
Exactly. Owned by Meta, Facebook. It's become a major platform for personal sharing, influencers, businesses, visual artists. Very influential in online culture.
Can't really avoid it these days.
Pretty much.
Thrift store.
A shop that sells secondhand goods, used items, especially clothing, furniture, housewares, often run by charities.
Like Goodwill or Salvation Army stores or smaller independent ones.
Yeah.
Good for finding bargains and unique items, and it's sustainable.
Exactly. Promotes reuse, keeps things out of landfill, and often supports good causes. Thrifting has become quite popular.
Definitely. And Polaroid.
A type of instant camera and the brand name that became synonymous with it. Take a picture and the print develops itself within minutes right there.
That immediate physical photo. They had a big resurgence too, didn't they?
They did. In the age of digital photos, the novelty and tangibility of an instant print became appealing again. They have a certain retro charm and aesthetic.
Fun for parties and capturing moments instantly.
Yeah.
Okay, now let's tackle some commonly misused or misheard phrases. First, the difference between I couldn't care less and I could care less.
This is a classic. I couldn't care less is the logical way to say you have absolutely zero interest. Your level of caring cannot go any lower.
Because it's already at the bottom.
Exactly.
Yeah.
If you say, I could care less, it logically implies that you do care, at least a little bit, because your level of caring could be lower.
So it means the opposite of what people often intend when they misuse it.
Precisely. To show complete indifference, the phrase is, I couldn't care less.
Got it. Couldn't. Okay, next. Nip it in the bud versus nip it in the butt.
Another common confusion. The correct idiom is nip it in the bud. It means to stop a problem or bad situation at an early stage before it grows bigger.
Like nipping off a flower bud before it blooms.
Exactly. That's the metaphor. Stop it before it develops. Nip it in the butt is just a mishearing that sounds similar but makes no sense in context and sounds rather, well, silly.
Stick with the bud.
Please do.
Okay. One and the same versus one and the same.
The correct phrase is one and the same. It means identical, the very same thing, or person. Mark Twain and Samuel Clemens are one and the same.
One and the same doesn't really mean anything logically, does it?
Not really. It seems people just mishear the and as in, but it should be one and the same to convey identity.
One and D the same. Check. Next. On tenterhooks.
To be on tenterhooks means to be in a state of nervous suspense or anxiety, waiting eagerly or fearfully for something to happen.
Why tenterhooks? What are they?
Tenterhooks were hooks on a frame, a tenter, used to stretch cloth while it dried during manufacturing to keep it from shrinking. So, being on tenterhooks evokes that feeling of being stretched tight, held in suspense.
Ah, a really vivid image of tension and anticipation.
Exactly. We were on tenterhooks waiting for the results.
Okay. And moot point versus mute point.
It's moot point, M-O-T. A moot point is an issue that is irrelevant, no longer worth discussing, perhaps because it's purely hypothetical or the decision has already been made.
Like arguing about whether we should leave at 8 or 9 when it's already 10, that's a moot point.
Perfect example. It's academic, it doesn't matter anymore. Mute, M-U-T-E, means silent. A mute point isn't really a standard phrase and confuses the meaning.
So moot means irrelevant, not silent.
Correct.
All right, now for some iconic movie quotes. I'll be back.
The Terminator, Arnold Schwarzenegger. Instantly recognizable. Means exactly what it says, a promise or threat of return.
Used all the time now, often humorously.
Absolutely. It's part of the cultural lexicon.
Okay. Inconceivable.
The Princess Bride, said repeatedly by the character Vizzini, used to express utter disbelief or astonishment, often with that specific, slightly whiny inflection.
You keep using that word. I do not think it means what you think it means. Another great line from that scene.
Exactly. It's become a go-to phrase for extreme surprise.
Love that movie. Okay. I immediately regret this decision.
Anchorman. The Legend of Ron Burgundy, said by Will Ferrell's character right after doing something foolish, captures that instant wave of remorse.
We've all been there. That split second after you hit send or say something dumb.
Totally relatable moment of instant regret.
Okay. Mama always said life was like a box of chocolates.
Forrest Gump, followed by, you never know what you're going to get.
A very famous quote about the unpredictability and randomness of life. Sweet and profound.
It really resonated with audiences. A simple metaphor for life surprises.
And finally, Houston, we have a problem.
From the movie Apollo 13, based on the actual lunar mission, used to signal that something significant has gone wrong.
It's become shorthand for reporting any kind of serious issue, hasn't it? Even minor ones sometimes, humorously.
Absolutely. Houston, we have a problem. The coffee machine is broken. It's instantly understood as announcing trouble.
Great quotes. Okay, let's talk pizza. Different styles. New York style.
New York style. Characterized by large, thin crust slices that are foldable, usually topped with tomato sauce and mozzarella cheese, maybe pepperoni, designed to be eaten on the go.
That classic foldable slice. Thin, wide, often a bit greasy in a good way.
Exactly. A quintessential New York food experience.
California-style pizza.
California style is known for being much more unconventional and gourmet with its toppings. Think things like barbecue chicken, artichoke hearts, goat cheese, pears, peanut sauce. Non-traditional ingredients.
More experimental, focused on fresh or unusual flavor combinations.
Right. Less about tradition, more about culinary creativity. Like Wolfgang Puck's early pizzas.
Okay. Chicago-style deep dish.
The opposite of thin crust. Chicago deep dish has a very thick, buttery crust that goes up the sides of a deep pan. It's layered with tons of cheese, then toppings, then a chunky tomato sauce on top.
So the sauce isn't up at the cheese.
Often, yes. It's more like a savory pie or casserole than a flat piece. You definitely need a knife and fork. It's very filling.
A completely different pizza experience.
Oh, wait.
Hawaiian pizza.
The controversial one. Topped with tomato sauce, cheese, ham, or Canadian bacon, and pineapple.
People seem to have very strong feelings about pineapple on pizza. Love it or hate it.
It's incredibly divisive. A constant online debate. Does fruit belong on pizza? The debate rages on.
I won't ask your opinion. Okay, Quad City style pizza. Never heard of this one.
It's a regional style from the Quad Cities area, which straddles Iowa and Illinois. It's unique. The crust contains malt, giving it a slightly nutty, toasted flavor. The sauce is a bit spicy, often with red chili flakes or cayenne. And crucially, it's cut into long strips, not wedges.
Cut into strips? How strange.
It is unusual, and the toppings are often under the cheese. It's a very distinct regional specialty.
Wow, pizza's clearly a diverse world. Okay, some more idioms, these ones involving clothing or pants. Beat the pants off someone.
To defeat someone decisively by a large margin, a complete and thorough victory.
Like in a game or competition, our team beat the pants off the rivals. It's a humorous exaggeration.
Exactly. Implies total domination.
Okay, burst at the seams.
To be completely full, overflowing, almost to the point of breaking open.
Like an overstuffed suitcase that's about to burst.
Yeah.
Or a room packed with so many people it feels like it's bursting at the seams.
Perfect examples. It signifies being filled beyond capacity.
Okay. By the seat of one's pants?
To do something using instinct, luck, or improvisation, rather than skill, planning, or proper resources.
Like flying a plane through fog, relying only on instinct. Or figuring out a problem as you go along without instructions.
Exactly. Making it up as you go, relying on feel rather than knowledge or preparation. Often implies navigating a difficult situation successfully through sheer intuition or good fortune.
Sounds risky.
Can be.
To have something up one's sleeve.
To have a secret plan, hidden advantage, or a surprise solution ready to be revealed at the right moment.
Like a magician pulling a rabbit out of a hat, but maybe hidden up their sleeve first.
That's the idea. Having a secret resource or strategy in reserve that others don't know about. Don't worry, I have a little something up my sleeve.
A hidden ace. And wear more than one hat.
To have several different roles, jobs, or responsibilities, often at the same time.
Like a small business owner who is also the accountant, the salesperson, and the janitor. They wear many hats.
Exactly. It signifies juggling multiple functions or identities.
Okay, great. And finally, we have a list of common acronyms. NASA.
National Aeronautics and Space Administration. The U.S. Space Agency. Responsible for space exploration, satellites, aeronautics research.
Moon landings, Mars rovers, Hubble telescope. That's NASA.
Indeed. A very well-known agency.
MSRP.
Manufacturer's suggested retail price. The price the company that makes a product recommends stores sell it for.
You see this often on cars, electronics. It's a starting point, but stores can sell for more or less.
Exactly. It's a suggestion, not usually a fixed price.
ACLU.
American Civil Liberties Union. A non-profit organization focused on defending and preserving the individual rights and liberties guaranteed by the U.S. Constitution and laws.
They get involved in legal cases related to free speech, privacy, equality, etc.
Correct. They work through litigation and advocacy.
AARP.
American Association of Retired Persons. A large U.S.-based interest group focusing on issues affecting people aged 50 and over.
They offer discounts, resources, information on healthcare, retirement, and advocate politically on behalf of older adults.
Right. A major organization for seniors.
And NDA.
Non-disclosure agreement. A legal contract between parties that outlines confidential material or knowledge they wish to share with each other for certain purposes, but restrict from access by others.
So basically, a contract saying you can know this secret, but you promise not to tell anyone else. Very common in business, tech development, etc.
Exactly. Protects confidential information.
Okay. Now just a few final short phrases. Back to back.
Meaning consecutively, one immediately after the other. He watched 2 movies back to back.
No break in between.
Right.
Can't stomach.
To strongly dislike or be unable to tolerate something. Often used for things you find morally repugnant or just intensely disagreeable.
Like, I can't stomach injustice, or I just can't stomach horror movies. A visceral feeling of aversion.
Exactly. Uses that physical reaction metaphorically.
Eyes are bigger than one's stomach.
Taking more food onto your plate than you can actually eat because it all looks so good. Overestimating your appetite.
Happens easily at buffets. Your eyes want everything, but your stomach has limits.
A very common human experience.
That's pain in the neck.
Something or someone that is very annoying, troublesome, or irritating.
Like dealing with complicated bureaucracy can be a pain in the neck.
Yeah.
Or a constantly complaining colleague.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's a common idiom for something frustrating or difficult to deal with.
Yeah.
Less intense than saying someone is a pain in the other place.
Right. Slightly milder version. And finally, to pull one's own weight.
To do your fair share of the work in a group or team effort. To contribute equally and not rely on others to carry you.
Everyone needs to pull their own weight for the team to succeed. It's about responsibility and contribution.
Precisely. Not being a freeloader. Doing your part.
Wow. Okay, that was a lot. We covered an incredible amount of ground there, diving deep into that English Class 101 transcript.
We certainly did. From esoteric words to pizza styles to movie quotes.
Yeah.
A real hodgepodge.
Huh. See, using the vocabulary already. But hopefully, for you listening, this detailed exploration gave you a much richer understanding of these words and phrases beyond just the basic definitions.
That's the goal. To see how language works in context, the nuances, the connotations, the common usage. That's how you really start to master it.
So maybe a final thought for you to consider. Which of these words or phrases stood out to you the most? Is there one you think you could start using or one you'll listen out for now?
Yeah, actively thinking about how you might integrate something new is a great way to make it stick. Language learning is an active process.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for joining us on this very extensive deep dive. We really appreciate you sticking with us.
Yes, thanks for listening.
And one last time, if you enjoyed this and want more like it, please do subscribe to the YouTube channel. It really helps us keep these deep dives coming.
We'd love to have you join the community.
Thanks again, everyone. We'll catch you in the next one.